Hello, radiant soul. Welcome back to this space where power meets peace, where the noise of the world fades and something deeper, something stronger begins to stir within you. Let me start with a thought worth sitting with. No one can hurt you without your consent. But what if I told you your reaction is the real battlefield? If that stirred something in you, then you're exactly where you need to be. Before we dive deep, if this message already feels like it's for you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe, because we're building a community of women who are not just strong, but unshakably wise. So let's begin. We all carry wounds, some fresh, some so old, they've become part of who we are. Maybe it was a betrayal, a harsh word, a silence that screamed louder than anything ever said. And if you're here, chances are someone has hurt you deeply. You've asked yourself, how do I treat someone who's broken something inside me? Society tells you to fight back, to get even, to not let them win. But Stoicism whispers something radically different. It says, do not give your peace away just because someone else lost theirs. Think about that for a moment. When someone hurts you, your reaction is your true power. That doesn't mean you become a doormat, number. It means you respond from a place of centered strength, not wounded chaos. Imagine someone hurling a fireball of anger at you. The instinct is to catch it and throw it back, right? But what if you simply let it fall? Watch it burn out at your feet while you remain untouched, undisturbed. That's Stoicism. Not cold detachment, but deep discipline. There's a powerful image from the Bible that echoes this. When Jesus is struck, mocked, spat on, he doesn't fight back with rage. Whether you're religious or not, the symbolism is profound. He remains rooted. And in that stillness, there is unimaginable strength. That's not weakness. That's mastery. The Stoics, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they didn't write for perfect gods. They wrote for people like us, people trying to survive betrayal, insult, injustice. But their message wasn't revenge. It was clarity. You always have the power to choose how you show up. And that's what makes you untouchable. Because when you learn to treat those who hurt you not with revenge, but with understanding, or even just indifference, you step into a different kind of power. The kind that shakes people to their core. The kind that whispers, you can't break me, because I don't build myself from your opinion of me. But let's not romanticize it. This isn't easy. There's a part of you wounded, raw, that wants to lash out. That part of you isn't bad. It's human, but it's not in charge anymore. This is where your true test begins. And it begins in the silence after the storm. That moment, when your heart is pounding, your pride is bleeding, and you're alone with your thoughts, is where your philosophy either becomes real or collapses. Let's be honest, treating someone with grace, someone who doesn't deserve it, feels unnatural. Your ego screams, they should feel what I felt. But Stoicism invites you to ask a better question. What do I want to feel right now and tomorrow? Because when you retaliate, you may feel a flash of satisfaction. But what you're really doing is drinking poison you poured for someone else. It's not justice, it's bondage. This doesn't mean you approve of what they did. Not at all. In fact, one of the greatest powers you possess is to see wrong for what it is, clearly, calmly, and still choose your response with intention. That's how you go from being reacted upon to becoming the one who defines the tone. Picture this. A lion doesn't roar back at barking dogs. Why? Because she knows who she is. The noise doesn't change that. When you truly understand your worth, you realize some responses are beneath you, not out of arrogance, but out of alignment with your inner peace. Maybe someone humiliated you, lied about you, walked away without apology. They expected you to fall apart, to chase them, to get angry, to scream. And when you didn't, you became a mirror to their emptiness. There's something exquisitely powerful about withholding the reaction someone is begging you to give. You rob them of control, not by fighting, but by refusing to be moved. This is the moment where you rise, not with loud words, but with unshakable composure. Now let me say this, especially to you as a woman. The world has conditioned you to believe that emotion is weakness, that if you cry, you're fragile, that if you stay calm, you're cold. But Stoicism isn't about erasing your feelings. It's about owning them so fully that they stop owning you. Your softness is not a liability. It's sacred. But your ability to respond without hate, that's divine. And here's the twist most people miss. Sometimes, the one who hurt you is not your enemy. Sometimes, they are just a mirror showing you the parts of yourself still in need of healing. That doesn't excuse them, but it does give you a choice. Will you keep bleeding from a wound you refuse to treat? Or will you become the healer? That choice is everything. And when you choose to become the healer, not just of others but of yourself, you begin to transcend the pain, not by pretending it didn't happen, but by refusing to let it define who you are. This is where the real transformation begins. See, many people think strength means building walls, acting cold, never trusting again. But Stoicism teaches something far more radical. True strength is opening your heart again, with wisdom, not because you've forgotten what hurt you, but because you've learned from it. The person who hurt you may never apologize. They may never even acknowledge the damage they caused. And yet, you still have the power to decide that they no longer get to control your inner world. There's a quiet moment I love from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. He writes, "When someone does you wrong, ask yourself what part of yourself allows it to harm you." That's not victim blaming. That's soul liberation. Because once you know where the pain sticks, you also know where the healing begins. Let's get real. Sometimes we hold on to the hurt because it gives us a story, a reason to stay angry, a reason to feel justified. But at what cost? You are not here to be defined by your trauma. You are here to alchemize it. Turning pain into wisdom is the most sacred form of revenge, not by being better than them, but by becoming better than the version of you that was shattered. And here's a secret. People can feel when they no longer have power over you. It unsettles them, because your silence, your growth, your peace, it speaks louder than any insult, louder than any scream. That's what makes you different. That's why you're watching this right now. Because deep down, you know that vengeance is noisy, but evolution is silent. And while the world watches for your reaction, you're building something far more terrifying. To those who tried to break you, a woman who forgives, not because they deserve it, but because she does. That's how you reclaim your power, by refusing to let someone else's shadow dim your own light. And that light, your light, doesn't need permission to shine again. It doesn't wait for closure. It doesn't need validation. It simply chooses to glow, even after being dimmed, even after being drenched in betrayal. That is the beauty of the soul that practices Stoicism. It doesn't glow because the world is kind. It glows because she is. You might be wondering, but what if they come back? What if they pretend nothing happened? That's where your new self steps in. Not bitter, not cold, but awake. Because once you've tasted the peace of emotional sovereignty, you can no longer pretend to enjoy chaos. Their presence no longer stirs the storm. You no longer bend to the same dance. You see through the performance, and instead of reacting, you observe. That's Stoicism applied, in real time. That's you rewired. You don't have to prove you're over it. You don't need to post quotes about self-love or cut people off with dramatic flair. The ones who are truly healing move quietly, gracefully. They say less and watch more, not out of fear, out of understanding. Think of a tree in winter. It doesn't argue with the cold. It doesn't beg for the sun. It simply stands rooted, waiting, knowing that nothing is lost, only resting, only preparing for a bloom more magnificent than before. You too are preparing. Every time you choose not to respond to provocation, every time you let go of an old wound instead of reopening it, every time you decide that your peace is more valuable than your pride, you are becoming something unbreakable. And people will notice, not because you shouted it, but because your energy has shifted. You are no longer waiting for justice. You are embodying it. You're no longer chasing closure. You've created your own. You've stopped treating pain like a residence and started treating it like a teacher. And the moment that shift happens, the people who once hurt you start to lose their hold, not because they've changed, but because you have. What used to feel like a dagger now feels like a whisper. What used to control you no longer even reaches you, because you are standing in a different place now, a place where pain can still visit, but never stay. And in that place, you become a force of nature, not because you're immune to pain, but because you've turned pain into fuel. Every scar, every disappointment, every betrayal becomes part of your architecture, not as weak points, but as reinforcements. You walk differently now, not faster, not louder, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows who she is. And when you know who you are, you no longer beg for respect. You embody it. There's a subtle moment of freedom when you realize you don't need to change them. You just need to stop letting them shape you. You can love someone and still walk away. You can forgive someone and never let them back in. You can carry the lesson without carrying the bitterness. That's emotional maturity. That's the Stoic woman. Soft heart, sharp mind, still spirit. And maybe, just maybe, your strength isn't just for you. Maybe someone watching you rise quietly from the ashes is learning that she can too. Maybe your healing is the permission someone else needed to begin their own. You see, we're taught that power is loud, that it's domination, control, being the loudest voice in the room. But Stoicism teaches us that true power is restraint. True power is sitting across from the person who tried to destroy you and feeling nothing but peace. Not because you've forgotten, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself who needed their apology to feel whole. You've made yourself whole. And that wholeness, it radiates. It makes people wonder how you did it, how you stayed soft in a world that tried to harden you. And the truth is, you chose it every day, every time you paused before reacting, every time you took a breath instead of revenge, every time you placed your energy into something that actually builds you up instead of breaking you down. That isn't weakness. That is a kind of strength most people will never understand because they're too busy fighting battles that you've already walked away from. So let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them write their stories about who you are, what you felt, and how you should have reacted. Because while they're busy trying to read you, you've already rewritten yourself. You are no longer living in reaction. You're living in intention. And that is your quiet revolution. You've learned to treat those who hurt you not with vengeance, not even with mercy, but with mastery. The kind of mastery that doesn't demand attention because it commands respect and silence. You don't need to defend your peace anymore. You are your peace. You didn't just survive what they did. You transmuted it into something sacred, something rare, something most will never understand because they're still trapped in the noise you've already outgrown. You are no longer who you were when they hurt you. You're something stronger, wiser, wilder, softer. And that is your triumph. If this message resonated with something deep inside you, something real, something raw, then don't leave without letting it be known. Hit that like button to show you felt this power. Subscribe to join a community of women just like you, not just surviving but rising, rooted in ancient wisdom and unshakably awake. There's more waiting for you here. More truths, more tools, more of you unfolding. So stay. You belong here.